Back in the real world, however, there have been numerous empirical studies conducted over the past 20 years showing that the likelihood of an acquisition's proving to be a failure far outweighs the chances of success. That doesn't mean I think acquisitions have no place in good corporate strategy. IBM made 90 acquisitions during my tenure as CEO. The most successful were those that fit neatly into an organic growth plan. IBM's purchase of Informix is a great example. We were neck and neck with Oracle in the database business, and Informix, another database company, had lost its momentum and market leadership. We didn't need to buy Informix to get into the database business or to shore up a weak position. However, we did acquire a set of customers more quickly and more efficiently than we could have following a go-it-alone strategy. The same was true with a number of other acquisitions in which we basically bought technology that we were going to have to develop ourselves but were able to accelerate our control of that technology through a highly focused acquisition. In other words, acquisitions that fit within an existing strategy have the most likely probability of success. Those that represent attempts to buy new positions in new marketplaces or that involve smashing together two very similar companies are fraught with risk. Steely-eyed strategies. Bottom line, at the end of the day, a successful, focused enterprise is one that has developed a deep understanding of its customers' needs, its competitive environment, and its economic realities. This comprehensive analysis must then form the basis for specific strategies that are translated into day-to-day execution. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Yet, in my experience, not enough. Companies really do the analytical work in a truly objective way. Hope usually prevails over reality, even fewer can then translate the analysis into precise action programs that are tracked month by month. As I mentioned earlier, perhaps my most infamous quote dealt with the subject of vision. During my years at McKinsey seeing many different companies, I was always amazed at how many executives thought that vision was the same as strategy. It's very easy to develop visions. It's the same thing as Babe Ruth pointing to the fences. How many Babe Ruths do you think have pointed to the fences in the last 20 years? How many do you think hit a home run within the next minute? Vision statements can create a sense of confidence, a sense of comfort that is truly dangerous. Vision statements are for the most part aspirational, and they play a role in creating commitment and excitement among an institution's employees. But in and of themselves they are useless in terms of pointing out how the institution is going to turn an aspirational goal into a reality. Again, good strategies start with massive amounts of quantitative analysis, hard, difficult analysis that is blended with wisdom, insight, and risk-taking. When I first arrived at IBM, I asked, "What do our customers think about us? Let me see our customer satisfaction data." I got back reports that were amazingly positive. Basically, customers loved us. It was all statistical, it all seemed thorough and accurate. However, it just didn't make sense, given that we were losing share in almost every one of our product lines. It took me a while, but I finally discovered that the way we measured customer satisfaction was to ask our sales force to pick some of their customers and ask them to complete a survey. IBM does not hire dumb salespeople. They obviously picked their best and happiest customers, and we were getting lots of positive data and absolutely fooling ourselves every day. Moreover, every part of IBM was doing its own thing. We were conducting 339 different satisfaction surveys. Disparate methodologies made it impossible to get a single view, even if the sample wasn't biased by the sales force. Today we conduct 14 comprehensive customer surveys, administered by an independent research firm. Names are sourced from external lists, not the sales force, and we interview almost 100,000 customers and non-customers every year. Surveys are conducted in 30 languages in 55 countries, and they compare our performance against those of all our major competitors. Most important, the data are incorporated into our tactical and strategic plans on a semi-weekly basis. Intelligence wins wars. Perhaps the most difficult part of good strategy is hard-nosed competitive analysis. Almost every institution develops a pride in itself. It wants to believe it's the best. And a lot of what we as managers do is encourage that sense of loyalty and pride. However, this family feeling often gets in the way of really deep competitive insight. We want to believe our products are better than our competitors' products. We want to believe customers value us more than they do our competitors. Product managers want their bosses to believe the manager has created the best products in the industry. But facts are facts, and they've got to be assembled on a continuous, unbiased basis. Products have to be torn down and examined for cost, features, and functionality. Each element of the income statement and balance sheet has to be examined with total objectivity vis-a-vis competitors. What are their distribution costs? How many salespeople do they have? How are their salespeople paid? What do distributors think about them via us? There are hundreds of questions that need analytical examination and which then must be pulled together in comprehensive, deep competitive assessments.
Often a root cause of inadequate competitive analysis is asking the innkeeper how good the inn is. It's fairly axiomatic that most managers are not going to strategize themselves out of business. Most managers are not going to present to corporate officers an unvarnished, bleak picture of their stewardship. Perhaps the only time you really get a totally objective analysis of a business from a division president is when he or she first arrives on the scene. Then there's no accountability for prior mistakes, it's the prior incumbents. Problem. Good strategy. Long on detail, the most important value-added function of a corporate management team is to ensure that the strategies developed by the operating units are steeped in tough-minded analysis and that they are insightful and actionable. All of the critical assumptions, things such as pricing and industry growth rates, need rigorous and tough-minded review. Why is this also important to the subject of focus? Because truly great companies lay out strategies that are believable and executable. Companies that leap into new businesses and chase acquisitions willy-nilly are those that really don't have a conviction about their existing strategy. They don't have a clear understanding of the 5 or 6 critical things they need to do in their base business to be successful. Those 5 or 6 things are the prime elements that the organization should be preoccupied with every day, then measuring, adjusting, and reallocating resources as necessary. Again, good strategies are long on detail and short on vision. They lay out multi-year plans in great quantitative detail, the market segments the company will pursue, market share numbers that must be achieved, expense levels that must be managed, and resources that must be applied. These plans are then reviewed regularly and become, in a sense, the driving force behind everything the company does. Consequently, when an acquisition opportunity shows up from your friendly investment banker, it isn't his or her analysis that is examined. Rather, you do a detailed analysis of how the acquisition fits into the strategy. In fact, if a company hears about an attractive acquisition candidate first from an investment banker, it almost always means the company hasn't done a good job on its strategy. A good strategy will always identify critical holes, competitive weaknesses, and the potential to fill them with tactical acquisitions. I have bought many companies during my business career. I can't remember one of them that was a new idea unearthed by an investment banker. The hard part, allocating resources. Finally, making sure that resources are applied to the most important elements of the strategy is perhaps the hardest thing for companies to do. Too many companies view strategy and operations as two separate activities. Strategies are completed once a year reviewed during long meetings and approved by some higher authority. Then everybody goes off and continues to run the business in much the same way that they did before. If, in fact, a strategy does call for a different set of actions, the very difficult task of taking resources away from some other activity in the company and reassigning them to the higher priority is not done well in many businesses. Let's return to customer satisfaction at IBM. After we developed truly effective, independent measurements to ascertain how our customers viewed us and our competitors, it was clear that one of our biggest problems was with how easy or not it was to do business with us. Our customers liked our products, liked our breadth of experience, liked our ability to help them solve problems. But they often found us to be maddeningly difficult to deal with, and or to get answers from quickly. Addressing this issue was not easy. There was not a single silver bullet we could fire to solve the problem. There was not a single project we could heap a bundle of money on to make sure the mission got done. It involved hundreds of projects, cutting across the entire company from salespeople to lawyers to telephone clerks. In some companies, such a project, mundane in its day-to-day activities but essential in its strategic context, would die of its own weight and its lack of connectiveness to the daily grind in a relatively short period of time. We had to work hard to maintain its vitality, funding, and focus. It worked, but it was a reminder to me of how difficult it is to get large organizations to give meaningful resources and attention to matters that offer little or no benefit to quarterly results, but which are critical to long-term success. Survival of the fattest. Here's my last observation on focus, the Darwinian concept of survival of the fittest unfortunately doesn't work in a lot of companies. Instead, too often the rule is the survival of the fattest. Divisions or product lines that are successful today always want to redeploy their cash and other resources into existing products and existing markets, finding ample resources to fund new growth and new businesses is one of the hardest tasks of a corporate leader.